We are just 17 days out from the start of college football season, and the Troy Trojans are quite certain who they want to lead the team from the QB room. Junior Goose Crowder of Gardendale will take the first snap of the Trojans' 2024 season. Crowder is a West Virginia transfer where he was under former Troy head coach Neil Brown. He went 9 of 13 with 94 yards in his first season, and that was with Troy last year. Crowder replaces six-year quarterback Gunnar Watson, who led the Trojans to 2 Sun Belt championships.